Good morning and welcome to Falling in Love with FAFSA Frenzy. So today I am joined by a couple of FAFSA experts from my own team at THEC. I should introduce myself, Suzette Telli. I am coordinator of statewide services with THEC, and I also work with Gear Up Tennessee. Next up, Leigh Ann Bodie, would you introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. Happy Valentine's Day. I'm Leigh Ann Bodie. I am also on the College Access and Success team at THEC, and I work with our data and evaluation. So I'll share some historical data on our FAFSA filing rates and share some resources where you can find data for your own schools. Next up is Rita.
Miss Rita.
Hi, my name is Rita Turchetta, and I am one of the outreach specialists. My little
Oh, did we lose Rita? She may have frozen a bit. So I tell you what, we will just go on and I'm sure she will unfreeze. I'm hoping it's not me that's frozen. Leigh Ann, are you still good? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're still good. It's just Rita.
Okay. So Rita's frozen. I'm sure she will unfreeze by the time it's time for her to talk, but we're just going to forge ahead with FAFSA Frenzy. I'm going to share my screen and we are going to go to that's weird. Oh, there we go.
location.
Okay, there she is. Miss Rita, you froze. Oh, we can't hear
Post
you.
a bunch of things just in case. I don't get it. Should I log out, log back in?
I would do that, yes. I think so. So we'll get our technical difficulties sorted out, but you should be able to see my screen here at TN FAFSA Frenzy. And anytime I have folks in a group, I always try to sing the praises of College for TN. So very quickly, I'm just going to point out our tabs at the top. Career planning, we have everything career related under this. Find a career, career assessment. We have over 900 careers in here that your students can look at and find out more information and watch videos about various careers. We also have links out to the career clusters pathways for those CTE folks and anybody wanting to find out more about the clusters pathways. Under college planning, we have the college going process, which has just a bunch of information all grouped together about college going for your students. And then also find a college and the step-by-step guide that kind of go together. And we have over, I think it's 92 colleges in here. And so we have 2-year, 4-year TCATs, even some proprietary schools. So lots of colleges in there that your students can find out more about. Only Tennessee colleges, though. It is Tennessee specific. Information on disability resources for any of your students who might want to go on to college, who might have a disability, adult learner information, and also parent resources. So that's all under college planning. Under financial aid, everything that was on College Pays has now moved over to College for TN, and you'll find it here on this financial aid tab. So I did want to click on this real quick and just show you, if you don't happen to know who your outreach person is, you can go here and you'll see we've redone our map, so it's much more colorful now. But let's say you lived in East Tennessee. You could click here and you'd see Rita Turchetta. Who knew? Rita Turchetta would be your outreach specialist. And so depending on where you live, you can find out their contact information and who you might be able to reach out to for financial aid help for you and your students. How to complete the FAFSA is exactly what it says. It's like 6 videos on how to complete the FAFSA, information on FSA IDs, everything you and your students might need to complete the FAFSA. Financial aid myths and tips, Tennessee financial aid. This one I would definitely encourage you to bookmark. It has everything you want to know about every Tennessee state financial aid program, including grants and scholarships. So it's broken down by 4-year, 2-year TCATs, and also proprietary schools. Lifestyle Calculator is an online assessment. It's kind of an online version of our Adulting 101 game. And so it kind of gives them a budget and they have to figure out like, what kind of lifestyle do I want and how much money do I have to make to live that lifestyle? We have a link here to the TSAC student portal. You'll also notice up here we have a link to the TSAC student portal. This one is for folks who already have a portal account, so they can go directly to the portal. The one here under financial aid, I would encourage you, if it's the first time your students are going to the portal and they don't already have a portal account, they might want to use this one because it has videos on there about some of the different scholarships, and it kind of gives them context about why they're actually setting up this TSAC student portal. So those are our 3 student-facing tabs. School resources is the you-facing tab. So this is the one for the practitioners who are working in college access. So under school resources, we have Path to College events over on the left, Tennessee Electronic Transcript Exchange, college access resources, and also financial aid resources. So today we're going to be spending most of our time on Path to College events, but I'm going to mention these others briefly. Tennessee Electronic Transcript Exchange is a free, secure, safe way for you to send transcripts at no charge to you or your students. So if you're still mailing and printing transcripts, please reach out to me and I can get you more information about that. It is a free, underutilized state resource. Under college access resources, we have just a whole bunch of stuff under here. Adulting 101 and College Fit Game, those are both games that you can play with your students. Educator webinars, anytime we do one of these webinars, we record it, and this is where we post it. So if you ever miss one, just know that you can go there and find it. We have our Garrett, Tennessee, and also our Advise Tennessee sites on here. So there might be some resources on those sites that you could use as well. We have our next guides. I'll click on that real quick because we have a whole suite of next guides now, and we've kind of really become known for those. So we have 12th grade, 11th grade, 10th grade, 9th grade, going in reverse order. We also have a family guide and a new middle school guide. We're currently working on 2 elementary school guides. So starting, we hope next fall, we'll have a K-2 guide and also a 3-5 guide. And you'll see we have fillable PDFs, downloadable PDFs. The Spanish version and the the 12th grade guide and the family guide are available in Spanish versions, and we're hoping to have them all translated soon into Spanish. The Student Success course is actually under a major revision. We're going to make that an online course. We hope to at least pilot that next fall, so stay tuned for more information about that. TN FAFSA Challenge, we're going to talk about here in a moment, so I'll skip that for now. Under financial aid resources, if you ever have questions about FAST or you need a FAST form or information about logging in, anything like that, you can find that there under financial aid resources. And also when we do anything with our post-secondary partners, like a webinar, we always post it here under webinars and events for post-secondary partners. But for today, let's start over here with Path to College events. There are 4. Tennessee College Application and Exploration Month is the month of September in Tennessee. It has been for the last several years. So everything then is focused on college applications and exploration. TN FAFSA Frenzy is the one we're going to focus on today, and I'll go back to that in a second. TN College and Career Planning Nights, those typically take place in the spring. They started off as junior nights, where juniors and their parents would come to school and have a college night, but it can be really any kind of college and career planning event that you would like to host at your school, and really any time of the year that you would like to do that. TN signing days, those are to honor our graduates as they get ready to graduate, typically done in May, just before graduation. But again, it's totally up to you, the timing and when you plan to do it. So let me click here on FAFSA Frenzy, because that's kind of why we're here today, to talk about FAFSA Frenzy and fall in love with it. So FAFSA Frenzy is kind of our overall state FAFSA completion initiative. So it's kind of where we take all of our various little initiatives and we bring them all together under one umbrella called TN FAFSA Frenzy. So on this page, you'll see we have an overview of the event. We have the FAFSA Frenzy survey. And before I mentioned that we have 4 Path to College events, if you would like to be named a Path to College school, you will just need to complete the 4 events and then complete a survey for each of the 4 events. This is the FAFSA Frenzy survey, and you'll find the surveys for the other 3 in the same place on their pages as well. FAFSA data visualizations, I'm not going to click on this now because I know Leigh Ann is going to talk more about this, but just know this is where you can find it. We have a social media toolkit, which is all things FAFSA. So I'll click on that real quick. Just let you know, we do have some posts here that you can use about FAFSA, in particular, counting down the days to the deadline, which is currently April 15th. Also, a FAFSA Challenge social media guide where you can find sample posts to go along with the graphics. Student resources will take you back to our How to Complete the FAFSA page under Student Resources. TN FAFSA Challenge, I will click on that real quick. Just to let you know, nothing has changed about the FAFSA Challenge from last year, so everything will be exactly the same. And we created the FAFSA Challenge not as a competition, but really just as a way to honor you, the folks, boots on the ground, that are doing the hard work of FAFSA completion every day in schools with your parents and your families. So just to honor you and to thank you for all you do. We do have several areas of recognition. FAFSA Champions is by far the largest, and there are two ways that you can become a FAFSA champion. You can increase your Tennessee Promise applicant FAFSA completion rate by 5 percentage points or more compared to the previous academic year as of the Tennessee Promise FAFSA deadline. We always say as of the Tennessee Promise FAFSA deadline, which again is April 15th. The second way is to have 90% or more of your Tennessee Promise applicants complete the FAFSA as of the Tennessee Promise FAFSA deadline. So if you do either of those two things, you will be named a FAFSA champion. You can click here to see the list of last year's champions, and also know that we recognize highest completion and most improved. And under those, we recognize large schools, medium schools, small schools, and also very small schools. And they actually get a trophy, which is very cool. Other recognition banners for every school that's a FAFSA champion. Media, we do it in press releases on our website. Trophies I mentioned for those lower two categories. At the bottom here, the resources, again, this page will take you back to that How to Complete the FAFSA page for students. But for us, resources for schools will take us right back to the FAFSA Frenzy page. One last thing I want to show you is that on each of our event pages, we do have event resources that we hope that you will use. And I would say adapt and use, adapt them to your own needs. So we've got things like the Paying for College slides, the outreach brochure, FSAID, step-by-step guide, Who's My Parent tool, lots of FAFSA-centric stuff that you can use here. Also for our middle schools and elementary schools, we have resources as well, a lot of financial literacy information. On each of our event pages, we also talk about social media and outreach. So this is actually our toolkit from last year that ended August 1, but there might be some slides in there as well that you could pull out and use for social media posts. Also, just general information about social media, reaching out to the media, release forms, how to do a press release, just good information for you to have. We put our Path to College logo and our FAFSA Frenzy logo here because we want you to use them. So if you're having an event, please use our logos. We encourage you to do that. It's good for you, it's good for us, and it lets the state know, hey, we're all rowing in the same direction in terms of FAFSA. Volunteer engagement. If you're going to have events, you're going to need lots of volunteers. So just know information is available here about how to recruit them, how to train them, and how to thank them, because we always have to thank our volunteers. Okay, I know I went through that very quickly, but I'm going to stop sharing. And I'm going to turn it over to Leigh Ann Bodie, our Director of Data and Compliance, and she's going to talk to you a little bit more about where we are in terms of FAFSA completion and where we're going in terms of data and reports that we're going to be sharing out with you.
Thanks, Suzette. Give me a second and I will share my screen. Can you see a PowerPoint presentation?
Yes. You just need to start it.
Start it.
Perfect.
And can you see just the slide?
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Happy Valentine's Day. My name is Leigh Ann Bodie. I'm going to talk a little bit about where we were in this past year in terms of FAFSA filing, where we've been over the past 5 years in terms of some historical FAFSA filing rates. And I'm going to share a couple of resources that you can use to locate data for your own school. So just quickly to situate ourselves in terms of some of the numbers that we're going to look at, I just wanted to give just a brief visual overview of last year's FAFSA season. And I know this group probably doesn't need too much of a reminder of what that was like, but I just really liked this visual. Anything in red represents a delay or a missed deadline or something that was late on behalf of the education department. Blue is just a response or a communication by national organizations that are in this space. And then orange, as we go on, you'll see orange represents errors. So either errors in calculation of the SAI, errors in the form itself, glitches, things like that. So that is a little bit of a look at last year. But even with a really challenging year, Tennessee has really, for the past decade, consistently had very, very high rates of FAFSA filing. We typically battle it out for number 1 or number 2 in the nation. This is, and I'll link to this a little bit later, but this is a dashboard produced by the National College Attainment Network that displays estimated rates of FAFSA filing for all of the states. And so you can see we're here, last time I checked it, we were number 2, technically the first state. So next, I just wanted to transition and show some data on Tennessee specific data on FAFSA filing rates for our Tennessee Promise applicants. And I just wanted to pause here and explain what we're looking at. So here we see 5 years of data from the class of 2019 through the class of 2023. So I don't have the class of 2024 in here yet. We're going to look at that separately. The top blue line represents our FAFSA submission rates for Tennessee Promise applicants, again, at the deadline for Promise. It's kind of how we benchmark ourselves from one year to the next. And the bottom gray line represents completed FAFSAs for the same population. Now, a submitted FAFSA cannot generate an SAI. We track both of these numbers. A FAFSA does need to be complete for a student to receive financial aid. It has to be complete and free of errors in order for that SAI to be generated. If a FAFSA is submitted, but it's incomplete, the student would have to log back in and make corrections in order to receive financial aid and generate an SAI. Now, Tennessee Promise only requires that students submit the FAFSA by the deadline to remain eligible. And so we track both of these metrics. All right, so next we are going to take a look at last year specifically in the graduating class of 2024. So this shows us where our FAFSA filing rates were at the original April 15th deadline for Promise. And so here we see that only 45% of our students had a complete FAFSA at that time. That, in my opinion, is more of a representation of the issues with the FAFSA form than low rates in Tennessee. Back in April, students couldn't make corrections yet. If they had submitted the form and it was not complete or they had an error, they were unable to log back in. And there were just prolific glitches. So this is really just a representation of some of the challenges that were being experienced. And so THEC went ahead and extended the deadline until May 15th, excuse me. And you can see here we were at about 62% of Tennessee Promise applicants with a completed FAFSA and about 68% had a submitted FAFSA. And that is still quite a bit lower than in previous years. I know it's never ideal when the deadline gets moved, but I think hopefully this can shed some light on that conversation. And right around this time, we also at the state level received some funding from a not-for-profit organization called ECMC to support really ramped up efforts to help our students over the summer. And so the deadline was extended one more time until August 1st. And then this is where we ended up landing. And we were all really pleased with this. We really saw a lot of catch-up work take place over the summer through support of that ECMC grant. And at the end of the day, at the FAFSA deadline, we had about 78% of students with a submitted FAFSA and 74% with a complete FAFSA. So you'll see here that our submission rates did decline while our completion rates remained stable. And the reason for that is primarily because the new version of the FAFSA form makes it incredibly difficult for a student to submit with incomplete information or missing information. And so while in previous years, students, if they didn't have everything they needed to have a completed FAFSA, oftentimes would hit submit to maintain their Tennessee Promise eligibility, that is much more difficult to do going forward. And we're going to continue to see that gap between submitted and completed FAFSAs shrink. So I wanted to focus in on the kind of data portion of FAFSA Frenzy and show you a couple of resources. So a big portion of what we do is we try to put data into the hands of the people who are working directly with students. We're at the state level, we don't work directly with students, and we want to push out as much FAFSA filing data as we can. So I'm going to share. Okay, can you now see a website?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. This first resource is the NCAN dashboard. This is a really sophisticated dashboard. It's a really good place to look. You can see your school and district information, but you can also see information about where other states are. So we are currently 12. We usually shoot up kind of as we approach the promise deadline when our FAFSA filing really ramps up. And what this is showing is estimates. They're using an estimated senior count and estimates of FAFSA filing that come from the U.S. federal student aid. So this is fun to play around with. You can see you can see state information, high school, heat maps. There's just a lot on here to kind of play around with. Suzette, will we be sharing the slides?
Yes, we will.
There are links to this in the slides. So you'll be able to, it's kind of hard to Google and find. So there's just a lot of information on here. And the next dashboard I wanted to show you is the dashboard on collegefortn.org. This is Tennessee specific. We are looking at FAFSA filing rates among our Tennessee applicants attending public high schools. This will be updated starting next week. Yeah, it'll be updated for the current year starting next week. This is showing us final numbers from last year. We wanted to leave this up so folks could check it out before we update it. There will be some historical data in a spreadsheet that we'll post as well. But you can kind of hover. The dark blue bar represents FAFSA submission, and then the light blue is FAFSA completion. And so you can see at your school kind of how it looked. So this will be updated again next week. It'll be updated every other week in February, and then starting in March, we update it weekly. We also will start email communication to our school starting in March. So if you are on our listserv, sign up for our newsletter, you will receive weekly emails with your high school's current FAFSA filing rates. Those will go to counselors and principals. There's also through the FAST TSAC student portal, the same thing. Through that vehicle, you can access student level data. Rita will talk a little bit more about that, but if you have an account in FAST, in the TSAC student portal, you will be able to log in and access student level data for your school. So with that, I can pause for questions if there is any, or turn it over to Rita.
Yeah, we don't have any questions in the chat as of yet. I do encourage you all as we go through the presentation, please drop questions in the chat. But Rita, if you want to go ahead, we will forge on.
I'm hoping I do not freeze again. So let's see. All right, can you guys see my presentation?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, I am really excited to be here. Not sure if you guys got to hear my introduction, but my name is Rita Turchetta, and I get to talk about my favorite topic, federal and state aid. Quick disclaimer. I am told by some of my school counselors and advisors that sometimes I enunciate FAFSA incorrectly. So one of my lovely counselors made me this cup. I'm not sure if you can see it. It's got FAFSA, hard to say, but easy to fill out and submit. So I'm saying that because if I mess up on my FAFSA and say FAFSA, say it incorrectly, don't hate on me, okay? All right, so today I'll be talking about some quick updates for just a refresher on the 2025-2026 FAFSA and then FAST reporting. So let's start with FAST reporting. Right now, the best way to check and see if your student has completed the 2025-2026 FAFSA is by pulling your Tennessee Promise report in FAST. Why is this one? This number 3 Tennessee Promise Report. Why is this the best report? Is because the majority of your students probably filled out, applied for Tennessee Promise. That's why we're thinking this is the best report to pull. I'm not sure if you can see the one right above it, but FAFSA by high school ACT record. This one's, it's good, but it's not the best one to pull because this one does require a matching ACT record in FAST, and we have to manually match those ACT with our FAFSA application. So the best one to pull is your Tennessee Promise Report. So number one, you're going to go to FAST, so fast.tn.gov, log into your account, of course, click on reports, then you'll go down to high school, and then you'll click your Tennessee Promise Report. You'll select that. So when that page opens, you will select the year you want. We want that 2025-2026 award year. You'll click on View Report. And lastly, click on the Save icon to get a drop-down list of the different formats you can export the file. So like Word, Excel, PDF, CSV. I personally like the CSV format. But in the words of our great Jason C., you do you. Pull the report like you like and save it in the format you would like. All right, so if there is when you pull that report, if there is a date under the FAFSA app, that means your student has submitted an application. And let us know if you have more questions about the report in the chat, and we'll talk about those. All right, let's move on to some FAFSA refreshers. So just some fun, quick facts. A few of our state deadlines for the 2025-2026 FAFSA. For TSAA and Promise, the deadline is April 15th, 2005. For Hope and Reconnect, the deadline is September the 1st, 2025. And for Walder NAFI, it's November the 1st of 2025. It's some reminders. All right. So, of course, you need a studenta.gov account. So it's also known as an FSA ID. Best to create that FSA ID and at least wait anywhere from 1 to 3 days before actually starting the application. I highly, highly recommend not having the student start immediately. Let them wait, as well as the parent. Let them wait so that they're able to use that IRS data exchange. I'll be able to use the IRS data transfer so that goes seamlessly into that application. Mixed status families, identity confirmation process is not required for the 2025-2026 FAFSA. This is our recommendation. If you do have a mixed status family, have the parent start on their side, meaning the parent will log in with their FSA ID and invite the student. That's just the best flow for our mixed status families. All right, let's talk about studenta.gov accounts, those FSA IDs. In most cases, a dependent student completing the FAFSA will need an FSA ID as well as one parent, unless they did not file their 2023 taxes married filing jointly. So I'm a visual person, and we're going to use Jason. So this is my boss, and this is his lovely wife, Pam. So let's assume they have a son graduating from high school this May. And Pam and Jason file their taxes for 2023 jointly. If this is the scenario, then only one parent and the student will need an FSA ID. All right, but let's just say maybe they filed their taxes separately. If parents filed taxes separately in 2023, then both parents will need an FSA ID and the student, or even if neither one filed taxes. So if neither parent had to file taxes in 2023, and you will have some situations with that scenario, then both parents will have to create their own FSA ID and will be contributors on the student's FAFSA. All right. Next, as a reminder, you must be an eligible citizen or non-citizen to receive federal and state aid. So what is an eligible non-citizen? Someone that has a U.S. permanent resident, individuals with an I-94 showing refugee, asylee, Cuban, Haitian, entrant, or parolee, victims of human trafficking, which would be a T visa on their passport or their immigration papers, battered immigrants, and children. Those are considered eligible non-citizens and will be able to fill out the FAFSA application as a student. Okay, so who would be considered who is an eligible non-citizen? So holders of non-immigrant visas, individuals with temporary protected status, so they'll have a TPS status on their immigration papers, and then DACA students, so deferred action for childhood arrival recipients. Those would be considered not eligible for federal and state aid. If you have a family with a student with that situation, we highly recommend that they check out the Education Trust resource. This QR code will take them to EdTrust Tennessee. That's the actual website where it will give them some resources to find scholarships and routes that they could go. So one of the biggest questions we get on the FAFSA form is, one of the biggest questions we get at our workshops is, who is considered a contributor or a parent on the FAFSA? So there are various parent scenarios to consider. The FAFSA recognizes that family structures differ, and it's important to accurately reflect those on the form. So some common scenarios would include like biological or adoptive parents living together. So in this scenario, it assumes both biological and adoptive parents are married and reside together. You would include both parents on the FAFSA. They're divorced and separated parents. If the biological or adoptive parents are divorced or separated, only the parent that provided the majority of support will need to be included. Remarried parents. In case of remarriage, the financial information of the parent that provides the majority of support and their new spouse, repeat that, and their new spouse is considered. So single parents, like divorced, separated, or never married, for a single parent, whether due to divorce, separation, or never being married, only the financial information of one parent is needed. Widowed parent. If one parent is widowed, only the financial information of the surviving parent is considered. So understanding these various scenarios is really crucial for accurately completing the form and ensuring that the financial information aligns with the specific family structure. So if you are unsure, you can always reach out to your outreach specialist if you have questions and you need help with that, or you can always use the new FAFSA Parent Wizard. So if you go to Google and put in FAFSA Parent Wizard, this page should show up, so you can kind of guide your family before they actually fill out the application of what parent is required on the FAFSA application. So who is not a FAFSA parent? So your grandparent is not a FAFSA parent. Aunt or your uncle, brother, sister, legal guardian, or relative who claims the student on for tax purposes, unless any of the above adopted the student. So these would not be a FAFSA parent on the FAFSA application. All right, and I know we've already talked about this, but I just have to give kudos for Suzette and her team, because this is one of my favorite websites ever, and you guys have done an outstanding job on this one. You go to collegefortn.org and /FAFSA. Jason has some great little short mini videos that will take you through that whole FAFSA process, even from the beginning where you're creating your username and password, all the way to who's my parent. You can also go to this website. I think if you go to, I want to say, if you just click on this one and scroll down, you can sign up for a webinar that we have weekly, or you can also book time with bookings. So you can have your family go to bookings and book with one of our outreach specialists to have like a one-on-one help to fill out your FAFSA application. All right. All of my part, this is my contact information, rita.turchetta@tn.gov. And I'm just so thankful you guys let me hang out with y'all today. I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
Thank you, Miss Rita. Thank you, Leigh Ann. I do want to, let me just really quickly share that page she was just talking about. So hopefully you're seeing how to complete the FAFSA. So as she said, we've got boxes here at the top for attending a live FAFSA webinar, which they do multiple times every week, and then schedule a call with a FAFSA expert. So you can get like some hands-on help from one of our FAFSA folks here if you have specific questions about FAFSA issues. We've got things like, it's a 3-step guide. So it's create your FSA ID, info to do that. And then the 6 videos Jason has created for us, which are wonderful. It breaks it down into 6 easy steps. And then the third step is just complete the FAFSA. So there's a link out there to the FAFSA. We have the link here to the Who's My Parent tool that she just talked about, and also a federal student aid estimator. So lots of good info on that page. And again, that was financial aid and how to complete the FAFSA. So I'm going to stop sharing again. And then, okay, Rita, we do have a question for you. Oh, what if the student has lost both parents and is being raised by a grandmother who has not adopted the child?
So
Who
that
is the
student,
contributor?
yeah, so the student wouldn't have a contributor. The student would be considered independent. So the college may ask for some additional documents, but this would be considered a special circumstance, and student would be considered independent on the FAFSA application. Great question.
Perfect, perfect. Any other questions? You know, it's funny because I really haven't heard a lot about FAFSA this year, which, you know, it's kind of like no news is good news. So I just assume like if it's not broke, then it must be working, and everything seems to be going well. Like I don't want to jinx it, but like everything so far really seems to be going well. I think they fixed a lot of the bugs from last year.
I 100% agree. Like just recently, I know I'm not sure if I have enough time for this, but I did see one glitch that can be fixed really easily. If you're in the application and it keeps looping, there's a reason that it's looping, and it's because the FSA ID is wrong. Something's wrong with that FSA ID, and it could just be something simple like when the student or parent created that FSA ID, they used the autofill from their computer instead of selecting from the applications like Tennessee or their address, and so it kind of leaves it blank. And so all you have to do is go back to the student's FSA ID and fix it. Just fix that, and you should be able to finish the FAFSA application. But just recently saw that, so I thought I'd give that to you guys.
Next question. What happens if one parent files taxes but the other parent doesn't, especially if they just got married in 2024?
Great question. So on this scenario, so parents are married, you're gonna have to have two FSA IDs, because they're gonna want, if that parent number one, if they just got married, more than likely they filed taxes either single or head of household in the previous. So I hope I'm saying this right. I just went brain dead. Okay, so you're gonna have two FSA IDs, because one, the parent that didn't file taxes, the IRS is going to need to make sure that parent didn't file taxes. So that parent is going to have to be a contributor, as well as the parent that did file taxes. Did that make sense? So you're going to have two parents with FSA IDs. Great question.
And then I'm assuming there's a place on there where they just say like, I didn't file taxes. I mean, there's, I know there was on the old FAFSA.
Yeah, you can put, I didn't file taxes, but in that you'll still have to create an FSA ID, because the IRS is going to want to prove that you didn't file taxes.
Okay. Any other questions before we let you go? Wouldn't be a bad thing to leave a little early on a Friday, especially on Valentine's Day Friday. What if parents are undocumented or are worried that their child has completed their FAFSA?
Yeah. So this could go, it depends on how you're asking this question. So if you're asking for the student, I mean, if they're undocumented as far as the student filling out the FAFSA, they can fill out the FAFSA. So that's what we talked about just a few minutes ago, where the student can still create an FSA ID. They click, I don't have a social, and that's fine. If this is something that we kind of talked about, if they're worried about their address, you can always ask the school system if it's okay if you use their address for the parents. It's just kind of up to you how you want to address that with your families. But if they're undocumented, they can still fill out the FAFSA for their student. It's set up so that you can do that. Because as long as your student is an eligible citizen, they can complete the FAFSA.
So they may be concerned that because they're undocumented, that their information might be shared with the government. So have you heard any recent updates about that? Like, are there any assurances that have been given or anything?
Not yet. Not anything official. So again, that's a conversation that you'd want to have with your families. My recommendation is like if that family is there's so many ways this question can go. So if that family is filing taxes, because a lot of our undocumented families are able to file taxes, well, your address is on those taxes. So that's I recommend that you use the same address that you use to fill out your taxes. If you weren't required to fill out taxes, that's kind of your call. You can use an address that, maybe you use the high school's address. If you're uncomfortable giving out your address, is all I could recommend.
Another question, if a non-documented parent has a documented student, can the student complete and marked I can't get parent info to be eligible for loans only?
Yeah, I mean, that's always an option that you can fill out. If the student is an eligible citizen, I'm assuming that's what you're saying. The student is an eligible citizen or non-citizen.
Student is documented, correct.
Yes, then yeah, you can put down that you can't get parents' information and only be considered for an unsubsidized loan. Just know that they won't be eligible for any state aid.
Okay. And I know earlier there was a question asking if the recorded session would be emailed. We won't actually email the recording, but we will send a link to the recording on College for TN, and we'll also send the slides that we use for our various presentations. Okay. Any other questions? This is fun. We should do this every Friday. Okay, I want to take a minute to thank my presenters, Rita Turchetta, Leigh Ann Bodie. Always a pleasure, my pleasure that I get to work with these ladies every day. Thank you all for spending part of your Friday with us, especially on, oh wait, one more question came in. Is any further beta testing being done? Beta?
I'm wondering if that's for the new, like when they first launched the 25-26. I would say no. They stopped that early because it was going so smoothly. It was supposed to go through, I'm guessing, the 1st of December. And just this FAFSA is going pretty well. So from my understanding, no, we're not in beta anymore.
Yeah, and I don't really anticipate that if everything's working, I don't anticipate that they'll make any massive changes over the summer for next year's FAFSA.
Yeah,
because everything seems to be working well.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Alrighty then. Again, thanks to my presenters. Thank you for sharing part of your Friday with us. And at that, we are going to say goodbye and happy Valentine's Day. And feel free at any time to reach out to us with any questions, whether it be about FAFSA or anything related to college going. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.